Good evening. My name is Zach Dotson, and I'm from Coldenham-Newburgh Reformed Presbyterian Church. And the first thing I'd like you to do is open your Psalter hymnal to selection 195. Open your Psalter hymnal to selection 195. As we think about the 400th anniversary of the Synod of Dort, there's something many people don't know, but we probably ought to think about it a bit, and that is the Synod of Dort not only dealt with salvation, it not only refuted the doctrines of the Arminians and gave us the beloved tulip, the Synod of Dort actually produced a church order, believe it or not. And this church order was followed by the churches in the Netherlands for a very long time. In fact, it was followed by the CRC until about the 1880s. When the first CRC people and a few of the first CRC ministers came to this country, many of them could not join the RCA, the Reformed Church in America, in good conscience, and many joined my denomination's sister church, the Associate Reformed Presbyterian Church. And if you look at the Wikipedia article explaining the origins of the CRC, one of the issues was psalmody. Psalmody. The CRC originally began as a really purely psalm-singing church. In the Reformed Presbyterian Church, we do carry on that tradition, and we sing the Psalms exclusively. So I've opened us to Psalm 100. Now, I've been asked to explain to you the regulative principle of worship. And at the time of the Reformation, as well as in the post-Reformation, when the canons of Dort were written, the mere idea of man being saved was not all that was on the reformers' minds. Of course, Luther, he gets a great deal of press for salvation by grace alone, through faith alone. Calvin, he gets a great deal of press for ironing out a sound soteriology. But do you want me to tell you something about Calvin most people do not realize? Calvin had a passion for the worship of God. And the regulative principle of worship is just what it sounds like. It's a principle that regulates how man is to worship God. So let me explain to you briefly the origin of that regulative principle. If you read in the scriptures of the Old Testament, Leviticus 10, the story of Nadab and Abihu, or perhaps you would go forward to 2 Samuel 6, you would find the story of Uzzah reaching out his arm to touch the ark. And what happens? He is struck dead. Nadab and Abihu try to offer strange fire, and what happens to them? A fire from heaven comes down upon them, and it doesn't consume their flesh. But there's something very interesting about both of those accounts. What's involved in that is how God is to be worshiped. Nadab and Abihu offer sacrifice in a way that God has not commanded, and in turn they are stricken dead. David wants the ark moved to Jerusalem. Uzzah, who is not qualified to move the ark, is moving the ark, reaches forth his hand to steady it and keep it from falling, and he is stricken dead. What's the New Testament application of these passages, you might say? That is that God has commanded the church to worship him in a certain way. And if we do not, woe unto us, my friends. Woe unto us. The regulative principle in the New Testament is found in the comments of Paul, and by example as well. You see the church in Ephesus, for example, they're meeting on what day? The first day of the week. That indicates the church is to meet on the first day of the week. You have Paul in two places, Ephesians 5:19 and Colossians 3:16. He commands the church to sing psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs. Now, I believe as a Reformed Presbyterian, he's saying psalms, psalms, and psalms. But nonetheless, what you need to understand is the Reformed tradition and the history that you are here to celebrate tonight was profoundly influenced and moved by the worship of God. And as we have gone through this time of being together, we've had special music, we've had choirs, we've had a number of things. And right now, I'm going to ask you all to stand, and we're going to sing in the mere human voice, a cappella, this psalm to the tune Old 100th. And the tune Old 100th is particularly significant because it first appeared in Geneva in the second edition of the Genevan Psalter. And if you want to know how the church worshiped at the time of the Reformation, right here it is. I will lead in just one moment as soon as I can clear my throat. All people that on earth do dwell, sing to the Lord with cheerful voice. Him serve with mirth, his praise forth tell. Come ye before him and rejoice. Know that the Lord is God indeed. Without our aid he did us make. We are his flock, he doth us feed. And for his sheep he doth us take. Oh, enter then his gates with prayer. Within his courts his praise proclaim. Let thankful songs your tongues employ. Oh, bless and magnify his name. Because the Lord our God is good, his mercy is forever sure, his truth at all times firmly stood, and shall from age to age endure. And now you have worshiped in the same way Calvin did in Geneva, in the same way your Reformed forefathers did in the Netherlands, the same way the Puritans did in New England, and the same way many Reformed churches did in this country until about 200 years ago.